BBC Radio.
6 Music.
You are now entering a parallel universe. And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC 6 Music.
Yes, an owner of a lonely heart, and I'm in Salford, whilst in Beverley we have got, with no jokes whatsoever, Mr. Robbie Hughes. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you kindly. Yeah, so where are we in the parallel universe?
We're looking at Sounds, 28th of January 1984. I have to say, I've got a really soft spot for Owner of a Lonely Heart. It's a great tune, I think.
Yeah, I'm not keen on Yes, as you know, but that's definitely one up there for me. I like it.
Definitely. So I must thank Sawsick Steve for this one, because Sawsick Steve sent us 2 big boxes of music papers, didn't he, a while ago?
He did.
And they are very hard to come by these days, so we're very grateful for that gift.
Top fella, Steve. Thank you.
So still with Yes. Yes had to postpone a planned American tour last week after new guitarist Trevor Rabin ruptured his spleen when an overweight lady fell on him out of a water chute in a swimming pool in Miami.
Likely story.
The incident, which will hopefully amuse even Rabin when the stitches are out, resulted in emergency surgery to remove the spleen, not a vital human organ, it says here.
Right.
The condition of the woman is not known. The bizarre accident happened in mid-January, the same day that Yes topped the American singles chart with Owner of a Lonely Heart, which we've just heard. So they were back on the, on a pop style-y, top of the charts, way after their prog pomp. And there they are, produced by Trevor Horn, of course.
Well, that's it. I mean, it was Buggles who got involved. Jeff Downes was the other guy, wasn't he?
That's right.
And he joined Yes as well, didn't he? So it all seemed very unlikely at the time, but it did the job.
It did. Sounds itself at this point, 1984, always had that fine balance, didn't it, of coverage between what was going on in the indie world and then the sort of heavy metal side of it. And they seem to have charts for everything.
Right, okay. I mean, yeah, because it was a kind of a blues paper, wasn't it, early on, as I remember, and it was quite rocky as well. But then they also got involved in the Oi movement and Gary Bushell and all that. So they really were quite schizophrenic at one point in time, if I can use that word. So you had Gary Bushell doing all the kind of more lumpen stuff, no offence, obviously, and Dave McCulloch and people like that covering bands like The Fall and Joy Division. So there was a mini battle going on in between.
Yeah, and so many charts on the chart pages. So you've got rock chart, indie chart, reggae, music video, metal, and even one here for worst TV ads.
Right.
In the news, Crass have been uncovered as the perpetrators of a bogus tape of a telephone conversation, in inverted commas, between Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. The tape was originally circulated last summer before the general election and was claimed to be a recording of a cross line between the two leaders. Needless to say, it's not complimentary to either statesperson. Most newspapers recognised the tape as a fake, but the Sunday Times attributed it to KGB propaganda a couple of weeks ago, and last Sunday's Observer took considerable delight in tracking the tape back to Crass HQ in Essex. They explained that the tape had been put together from TV and radio broadcasts, overdubbed by telephone noises, and it touches on lots of heavy political issues, including the Cold War threat. And Crass say, "We believe that although the tape is a hoax, what is said in it is in effect true. We're amused and amazed that the tape had been attributed to the KGB." I was interviewing Penny Rambo a couple of years ago, actually, about that, and he talked about this, and it did get quite scary for them, because their phones were tapped all the time, and they were getting strange visits and calls at all hours of the day and night. It's like they were obviously under surveillance.
Well, they were agitators anyway, so I would imagine they were of interest, which is quite pertinent these days. I mean, not only is the actual subject matter of the conversation sadly pertinent these days, but also there's all these stories unfolding of Aretha Franklin and the Monkees, all of these people being, looked at by the FBI and stuff. So, yeah, it all rings bells, doesn't it?
It does, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. That Aretha Franklin tale is bizarre. In 40 years, I think the FBI had files on her, didn't they?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Incredible. Also, sound reports from Joe Fagan, co-writer and main crooner of the theme tune from ITV's Auf Wiedersehen Pet, which looks like it's going to reach number 1 this week. Like Freddie Starr, they say, Fagan is a veteran of the Merseyside beat boom, squandering most of the 60s and 70s on unsuccessfully touring Europe in dubious combos. He first achieved cult fame status doing voiceovers for harp ads, Stay Sharp to the Bottom of the Glass, etc.
Right.
He Reagan got together with his producer, ex-soccer star David Mackay, to write the boozy sing-song theme tunes to the series last year. I take it this wasn't a kind of joke, because there's no kind of disclaimer or explanation here, because this wasn't David Mackay, as I know it. He used to play for Derby County and Tottenham.
Hard as nails. I mean, absolutely. I've never heard that before.
No, so I did some research here, Mark. So Dave Mackay was actually an Australian record producer, so they've clearly got the wires crossed.
Right,
here.
okay, good.
Also in the news, Wang Chung bassist Mick Feldman was trying in vain last week to hire a left-handed fretless bass for an album session. In desperation, the band's producer, Ross Cullum, dropped into the studio next door to see if, perchance, he could blag such an item. Fortunately, the occupant was one Paul McCartney, who was only too happy to oblige.
Wow, what are the chances?
I know. Well, you've had a McCartney moment, haven't you, in a studio, unexpectedly?
I most certainly have.
We're not going to go into it though. And Talking Heads to finish their first film, Electric Guitar, which was shot over 4 nights at Pentages Theatre in Hollywood, directed by Jonathan Demme. It will open in cinemas across the states in early spring. So this was, I'm guessing, this is what became Stop Making Sense, which is a great concert film. Well, I'd say the first half is a great concert film. The rest of it is more of your kind of standard film, I believe.
I've not actually seen it, Robert.
Have you not?
No, I've seen the famous clips of Psycho Killer when he comes on with the boogie box and all that. But yeah, that's it really.
Anyway, we're going to the indie charts, I think.
Okay, so we're going to play the Dream Syndicate.
We are.
Tell me when it's over. The Dream Syndicate and Tell Me When It's Over. Mark Riley, Bob Hughes, Parallel Universe.
Yeah, we're looking at Sounds, 28th of January 1984. Dream Syndicate, led by Steve Wynn, of course, who's a massive Fall fan. Huge.
Yes, he is, that's right.
Yeah. On the singles front this week, reviewed by Bill Black. Single of the week goes to Peter Blegvad for How Beautiful You Are. Don't be misled by the puppy sentiment. He says this is a thoroughly nice record that retains its integrity despite having already been covered by Leo Sayer. The New Yorker and founder member of Slap Happy was playing a hydraulic jackhammer in 1973. In his time, Blegvad has written a book about milk and been kicked out of Henry Cow for flippancy. This definitely needs investigation, he says. Sadly, that's where it ends.
Kicked out for flippancy. I love it.
And the main feature in the middle here is Gun Club, interviewed by Lindsay Hutton. It says, it's almost 3 years to the day since I encountered the Gun Club. After the Cramps' 1980 Lyceum show, Lux Interior introduced me to the band that they'd got their new guitar player from. Now Kid Congo Powers is back from whence he came, and the definitive lineup stalks the world. So has the lineup stabilised now? Jeffrey Lee Pierce says, well, actually, I was going to quit and do my solo bit, just record and do stuff under my own name, but then Kid became available, so I decided to give the Gun Club one more shot, which is just a great indication, really, of just how important a player, how influential a player as well, Kid Congo was and still is.
Well, yeah, I've got his book at home, I've started it, and it's great.
Yeah, I haven't got it yet, it's on the list.
Okay, mate.
Some kind of new kick, isn't it? Sorry, some new kind of kick. Congo left the Cramps, says, because he knew it was finished there for him. He left before he could be sacked for not slipping into a more mysterious, less sociable lifestyle. His desires for having fun and playing live were being restricted. What about the continual references to both bands being similar, Sounds asks. Congo says, well, I can tell you, having been in both bands, they're absolutely nothing alike. And Pierce adds, you ought to hear the Panther Burns now that they're getting to Stax territory. What the Cramps do to rockabilly and we do to blues, those guys are doing a real distorted style of 60s soul. It just goes on to say that the incarnation of Gun Club is a volatile one. It could self-destruct at any moment. However long it lasts, nobody who experiences it firsthand will forget it. Surely that must mean something in itself. Which is fair comment. And on the album front, briefly, Einsturzende Neubauten with a compilation that I can't even pronounce, Mark. It says here, the crunching, anarchic aggression of the band is a glorious respite from the increasingly bland repetitiveness of the rock biz. Whether you love them or hate them, their outlandish bravado has the desired effect in it. Everybody claims to have an opinion. This retrospective package compiled by Jim Thirlwell and the group will shed no new light on things. It will merely make the jigsaw more difficult. That was the thing about them, they just had attracted this polarising view. There was no sitting on the fence. You either loved them or you hated them. What did you reckon?
Well, I thought they were all right. You knew that was coming, though. You set me up for that, didn't you, Bob? And I do appreciate it, you know.
Oh, thanks very much. Also, with in the charts, Orange Juice.
Right, okay, The Bridge. Orange Juice and Most of the Bridge. Mark Riley, Bob Hughes, Parallel Universe.
Yeah, going to play that for my Mrs. Jane. We're looking at sounds here, 28th of January 1984. Gigs of the week, The Clash playing at Leicester de Montfort Hall, Desmond Decker at the Red Lion in Brentford, Curtis Mayfield at the Venue in London, Herbie Hancock at Birmingham Odeon, Wiz Jones at Battersea Arts Centre, Tony McPhee at the Star in Croydon, A Certain Ratio at King's College in London, the Glitter Band at the Bear Pit in Newcastle, Bronski Beat at the Fridge in Brixton, the Smiths at Sheffield University, Genesis at Birmingham NEC, Bow Wow Wow, now renamed Chiefs of Relief at Leeds Warehouse, and Julian Cope at Lancaster University. Bit of a thin week for gigs being January, although I have to say the Creepers at Market Tavern in Bradford.
Right, okay. Well, I can't remember what happened last week, so I can't remember that, but I'm sure it was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, Mark.
It seems that Tony McPhee and all the Groundhogs is playing every time we go to the PU, doesn't he? Must be the hardest working man in showbiz.
I'll see if I can get them in every week. On the live review front, you've got The Milkshakes, The Prisoners, The Plain Jane and The Stingrays at the Venue in London. Edwin Pouncey reviews it. He says, this was garage night at the Venue, an evening for getting an earful of grease of raw rock and roller coaster roots music that shambled back from the burial plot with restored energy pounding through it. First band on, The Milkshakes look resplendently ordinary in matching grins and haircuts, twisting Brit beat together with Tamla-esque soul and decorating it with flamboyant Shadows leg kick routines. And there's a picture of them doing the Shadows routine. Fantastic.
Good journalism.
Yeah, superb. The Shillelagh Sisters in Camden, supported by Pogue Mahone, who's nobody has heard of yet. Nina Simone at Ronnie Scott's in London, reviewed by Rose Rouse, who says she's a lovely woman with a stunning voice and a tempestuous temperament. She's getting on a bit by now. She must be about 60, and she's still a rum bag of tricks. Actually, Mark, I did some research here. She was only 50, so there.
Ooh, cut in that, eh?
I know. It seems that she must have got a pickup band, though, before the show. It says the drummer and guitarist had been picked up over here and were totally unrehearsed. How could they do this to a jazz audience? Piling on the agony. The drummer looked around frantically for signals, and the guitarist actually had to sit out one song because he didn't even know it.
Right.
You've got to be careful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck Berry was notorious for that, wasn't he? He always used to get a pickup band when he'd come over.
And he would also just change the key of the tune beforehand just to throw them.
Yeah, that was it. All part of the game. And the Raincoats, have the album out, Moving.
Right, okay, so we're going to play Dreaming of the Past now. Need to say thanks to you, Bobby, and to Gaz, and to Peter, and Giddy's next, and we'll see you on Monday now. We've got Julia Jacqueline live in session. All right, thanks everybody, take care, bye.
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Mark Riley, BBC Six Music.
And shut the door on your way out.